Okay, welcome to the Sportscast, November 20th, 2018. If you haven't yet, please subscribe on YouTube, Periscope, and iTunes. And if you're on iTunes, please leave a rating and a review. It will help us out tremendously. Thank you very much. It's Thanksgiving week, part 2 of the Sportscast. We're going to talk about what happened last night, 105-point game. Pretty. I can't say historic because I haven't proven it yet. But we'll talk about it right now with Ty Turner. Welcome to the Sportscast.
So good.
So last night's game, wow, it was definitely. One guy on Twitter was saying this. I mean, I hope the Super Bowl will be like this. What were your thoughts about last night's game?
Oh, yeah, I didn't actually see it till the end, to be honest, but I did see a lot of the game, and yeah, I saw the final score, obviously. Yeah, it was a terrific game. It was very entertaining. It'd be awesome if those two teams meet in the Super Bowl. I think there's a chance that could happen. Obviously, Kansas City has to beat, New England, and Los Angeles has to beat the Saints. Probably their biggest obstacle. But yeah, great offensive teams, great quarterback play, a bunch of great playmakers out there. I think the difference in the game really was the mistakes by Kansas City, and that ultimately was what cost them the game. I think it was 5 turnovers to 2. And I commented on the Sportscast, as good as Patrick Mahomes is, and he is terrific, and he's probably the best arm talent in the NFL right now, he has a little Brett Favre in him. He makes some reckless plays with the ball, and the thing is that will cost you Super Bowls. That will cost you key games. That will cost you ultimately in the end. And as much as I love Brett Favre, and obviously he's an all-time great Hall of Famer, one of the leading statistical leaders in NFL history at the quarterback position, 3-time MVP, won a Super Bowl. He drove me crazy as a Packers fan because he would make some boneheaded plays at the wrong time that, when he was a Viking, he obviously lost the Vikings that game against the Saints in the NFC Championship. He made some bad plays in that NFC Championship game against the Giants when he was a Packer. And it was just sometimes you find yourself hitting your head against the wall. And I see a little bit of that in Patrick Mahomes. And honestly, that was the difference in the game. Take those turnovers off the board. Chiefs were statistically better. Did almost 100 more yards and made a lot of just terrific plays in the all aspects of the game. So ultimately, those mistakes cost them the game.
Yeah, Patrick Mahomes had 478 yards. Jared Goff had 413. It feels like these two quarterbacks are like the future of the league. Now that Peyton Manning and Brady are fading out. Well, Manning, he's already faded out, but Brady once he fades out. But yeah, these two quarterbacks, and some people say Cam Newton, but that's debatable. But do you think these are the two future quarterbacks of the NFL?
There's definitely a high possibility that these are two of the better quarterbacks. You still got Carson Wentz.
Yeah.
You have guys who, you just don't know what's going to happen with the Sam Darnold, Josh Rosen, Baker Mayfield. And so, yeah, time will tell. But, yeah, I think Jared Goff and Patrick Mahomes are two of the best young quarterbacks. Future is bright for those teams and for those quarterbacks.
Let's switch over to college football. Notre Dame defeated Syracuse 36-3 in Yankee Stadium. Did Notre Dame make a statement in that game?
I honestly didn't see any of the game.
That's okay.
So I can't really say much about the game other than it's another good victory. I did hear that Eric Dungey didn't play in the game.
I heard, yeah, that's
or
correct.
got hurt in the first quarter. So that would really, he really is the catalyst of the Syracuse offense. He's a great leader, and a lot of those victories have been predicated on his ability to make plays. I've seen Eric Dungey play a lot. He's a very underrated quarterback. So the fact that he was out almost the entire game of a very, very important game that they needed him in played a significant role. But that being said, Notre Dame's done what they've done. They've played terrific defense the whole year. They've won every big game they have against Michigan, who's obviously a team that could be in the college football playoff too. Notre Dame beat them. Syracuse, the team in the top 25, Notre Dame beat them. Who else has Notre Dame beat? Well, I know they've had some May victories over like a Pittsburgh, over a Vanderbilt, over Ball State, where they only beat a very marginal team by 8 points. But then they've beaten good teams, and so they've gotten the job done. They play good defense. They're pretty good on both sides of the line of scrimmage. Not amazing quarterback play, but good enough. They can run the ball, and they make enough plays in the passing game. They're a solid team. I mean, they've done very well.
Their next game is against USC. Do you think that game is going to be easy for them, or what are your thoughts?
USC is not trending in the right direction. They've really kind of folded up tent, in my opinion. They lost to UCLA. They lost to Cal the week before. Two not very good teams themselves. So I just think Clay Helton's kind of lost this team. And there's differentiating opinions out there. So I'm hearing from one side saying that they're going to keep Clay Helton, but a lot of those sources that I'm hearing say that are like Oregon Duck or Washington Husky sources, and they want Clay Helton to stay there because as long as Clay Helton's there, that talent's going to underachieve. So I don't really. It's kind of a bias reporting, in my opinion. I highly doubt that USC is going to keep Clay Helton after a 5-7 season. Like, I'd be willing to wager with those quote-unquote sources. And when I hear Football Scoop and stuff, it sounds like they're probably going to move on. But I think they're going to already do the research on who they could get and how open they would be to coming to USC before they let Clay Helton go. But I think Clay Helton will be gone. My prediction, and to get back to your point, I think Notre Dame's going to easily win that game. I just think USC is lost. I think he's lost the team. I don't think they're going to come out, and I don't think it's going to be much of a game.
And another game that happened this past weekend, Oregon defeated Arizona State 31-29. What were your thoughts about that game?
Did you see it again?
I did not see the game, no.
Oh, you watched first half. Oregon absolutely just annihilated them. I think they had like 300 and almost 400 yards of total offense. Arizona State had about 100. If it wasn't for a fumble in their own territory and interception in their own territory, Oregon would have been up 28-3 at halftime. I mean, the first half, they ran the ball at will. I think Herbert was like 17 for 22 for 2 touchdowns. But what has been the case with this Oregon team, and this worries me. I've talked in the last several podcasts about depth issues. There's some talent that they're missing, especially with the back position. But what has worried me, whether it be this game, the Stanford game, games like Washington State and Utah where they came out and literally seemed like they didn't want to play, I'm worried about at times this team just does not seem to be locked in. And that goes back to coaching. If a team is having battling inconsistencies and sometimes just seeming like not to be, like in the second half, it came out and they acted like they'd already won the game. And they were executing, dropping passes. Herbert was throwing the ball to nobody. They couldn't run. It was like they went to halftime. They're like, "Yay, we won!" And Arizona State almost came back and won the game.
Yeah, looking at the score, it was pretty close.
This was a game, but it really was. If you looked at the first half, it was a domination. And Oregon had 4 turnovers to Arizona State's 1. If it was not really a close game, but Oregon almost handed them the game.
Wow.
It was really not a very close game. Statistically, it wasn't a close game. Oregon and all the turnovers and some dumb penalties too. But I don't know. I'm starting to. Everyone's been, kind of been beating the Mario Cristobal drum, but I'm not sure. Call call me in wait-and-see mode with Mario Cristobal as the head coach of Oregon. I gave him a pass last year when they played the bowl game after he became interim coach, and they literally came out, and you'd swear they weren't even there, and they got behind 24-0 to Boise State. Then came back in the second half because they woke up. And I thought, he just took over for the team after Willie Taggart left, and that's just going to be a one-time thing. But they imploded against Stanford, literally handed them the game after leading 24-7. They literally came out sleepwalking against Washington State and fell down 27-0. Came back in a backup running back at Utah and fell behind 13-0. And then they once again went to sleep at halftime and almost lost the game to Arizona State. I'm like, there's a little bit of a trend. Why is this team consistently, at points of the game, acting like they're not even there? Like, you could literally take them off the field and they'd be just as effective. So, we'll see.
Herbert.
We'll see if this trend continues on next year. It's a problem, and I think you give a coach 2-3 years, and if there is not an improvement in areas specifically consistency, you might need to move on to someone else.
Herbert had
nature of the game. You pay them way too much money to have that.
Herbert had 262 yards. How do you think he played on Saturday?
Same as the team. He had 249 yards, 2 touchdowns in the first half. Second half, he threw for 13 yards and had an interception. So, he's very consistent. He's been very inconsistent the entire year. So that's like, is it Herbert? Is it the coaching staff? I don't know. He's been inconsistent. Justin Herbert, if you look at his highlight tape, he's one of the best quarterbacks in college football. He's 6'6", 240, has a rocket arm, great mobility. He's projected as the first quarterback off the board if he declares. But if you look at the entirety of most games, Justin Herbert at times can just be extremely inconsistent. He can go on periods where he's like 0 for 7, 1 for 10, making bad passes, making bad decisions. He's just inconsistent. This is an inconsistent team. Very inconsistent. If you're an Oregon Duck fan, this has been a kind of a frustrating year. You've had some great victories over Washington. Was a terrific victory, but you've had some bouts of extreme inconsistency, which has ended in losses to Stanford, almost lost to Arizona State, lost to Washington State, lost to Arizona. So it's just been very, very, very inconsistent team. The best way to say, and that's Justin Herbert. Currently, right now, he's just extremely inconsistent. I would really be wary drafting him as the first quarterback. He just has not, I've seen him for 3 years, and as good as he's been at times, he's been extremely inconsistent. If you, like, let's say, hypothetically, the Giants have the 5th pick and they draft him, I just would be wary. I just don't. He's never showed to consistently be able to perform without bouts of inconsistency. I'd be wary.
Next game for Oregon is Oregon State. How do you see this game?
Oregon State's the least talented team in the Power 5. That's at least by recruiting rankings, they have actually the worst talent. They have pretty much non-Power 5. There's teams outside the non-Power 5 that have more talent than Oregon State. They are not good. I think they've won 2-3 games over the last couple of years. I think they're like 2-9 this year. It is a rivalry game. It is in Corvallis. You have to respect your opponent. They should not. I mean, Oregon should win this game. If they lose this game, it's a horrible loss. And they have to win this game because, honestly, to really consider this a successful season, it has to be an improvement on last year. So if they win this game, they're 8-4. They're going to have at least one more victory than last year, and have a chance to go into the bowl season. And they might get a decent bowl if they win this game, depending on how the Washington State-Washington game goes, depending how Stanford does in their last 2 games. Oregon could finish, I think, 3rd or 4th in the Pac-12 and end up in the Holiday Bowl, which would be a good game. They'll play a 4th or 5th place Big Ten team. So hypothetically, they could play Wisconsin or Michigan State. And that'd be a solid bowl. And if they come out with a victory there, 9-4, a 2-game improvement from last year despite the coaching staff change, if they're able to keep this top 5 recruiting class in tact, then you could see some good things in the future for Oregon, especially if Herbert returns. And, I've gone back and forth, and we've had discussion, should Herbert leave? Should Herbert stay? And I'm still 50-50. I don't think he's mentally there. I think he would struggle in the NFL. But that being said, Oregon is not a pro system. To spend another year at Oregon, he's not necessarily getting ready for the NFL. He's also going to be the number 1 quarterback drafted this year. I don't think he goes above Jake Fromm and Tua Tagovailoa next year because they're just going to have better results on the field. So he's really going to see himself possibly drop, especially if he shows inconsistencies next year. There'll be like 4 years of inconsistencies, and he'll end up finding himself possibly falling out of the first round. You never know. Whereas this year he's for sure. But the same thing, I don't think he's ready. I think he'd go to the NFL. I think he's going to get drafted by a bad team. Bad meaning Giants, Broncos, maybe Dolphins. I don't know. Some team that's not good. And he's going to be probably thrown in the fire. He might play a few games behind a different starter, but he'll more than likely get thrown in the fire, and I think he'll struggle. I think he's too young. I think he's battled consistency issues, and I think the pressure that comes along with the NFL, I think he'd really struggle. And would that be the undoing of his NFL career? I don't know. I would worry. I'd worry from what I've seen so far in his career. So I'm still on the fence about should Herbert leave, should he go, because there's some pluses and minuses. But at the end of the day, he would go, be a top 5 pick, get signed with a $30 million signing bonus. And even if he does fail, he at least is financially secure for the rest of his life. So, I don't know. I'm on the fence.
No. Great explanation. I think you're very on top of that. What's going on in Oregon and also Herbert, and you explained it. Maybe staying 1 year doesn't make much of a difference. So it's kind of a tough call for him. But you have said there has been a lot of scouts going over there and watching him. So he does have some value.
Oh, like crazy. He said, yeah. Oh, he has. Yeah, he's going to be the number 1. He will be the top quarterback drafted this year.
Yeah.
If he leaves.
Now, for the Pac-12, the championship game is going to be Washington State and Utah. Who do you think will come out of that matchup?
No, that's not necessarily true.
Oh, okay.
No, Washington State and Washington play this week.
Oh,
the winner of that game goes to the Pac-12 championship. Yeah. So the Apple Cup decides the North champion.
Wow.
So actually, yeah. So you can't. Yes, Utah's in for the South, but the Pac-12 North is going to be Washington State or Washington.
Will?
Washington State. Are you there?
Yes.
Okay. Washington State is obviously one loss. They've had a terrific season. They still have an outside shot at the playoffs if some chaos happens. That being said, they have not done well against Washington. I don't know what it is. I think they've lost 6 or 7 in a row. Mike Leach has actually never beaten Chris Peterson. I think he's 0-5. Where is the game? Do you have it up on the screen? I'm walking outside right now.
I'm actually looking up that right now. It is in Washington State.
It's at Washington State.
Yep.
They are tough to beat at home. Man, I'm kind of torn. I actually
you don't like neither teams.
Well, I don't like either team, but I prefer Washington State. I mean, I'm definitely prefer Washington State over Washington, and I think more that most of the Oregon fan base does. Washington's a bit of a rival. Washington State is not much of a rival. Chris Pearson is more well liked,
or upcoming rival
by Oregon fans. Yeah, but it's still. Yeah, I will never. They hate Washington and Oregon. So definitely I'm rooting for Washington State. but I also hope Washington State loses in the Pac-12 championship to Utah, because I want the Holiday Bowl for Oregon, because Holiday Bowl is a prestigious bowl. It's been a bowl for, I don't know, 100 years. And you're going to get, it's always been a great game between like one of the second, third teams, fourth teams in the Pac-12 versus second, third, fourth team of the Big Ten. So the Holiday Bowl has always been kind of like the backup. You know, the classic Big 12, Pac-12 matchup has been the Rose Bowl, correct?
Correct.
Like, the Rose Bowl is normally between the Big Ten champion and the Pac-12. Well, Holiday Bowl has always been like the backup bowl, meaning second or third place in the Big Ten plays second or third place in the Pac-12. Or, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's been around for almost, not as long as the Rose Bowl, but it's been around for decades. So I want them to make that bowl, Oregon, and for that to happen, they really need Washington State to lose to either Washington or Utah. And then you would take, so like the Rose Bowl would take probably, let's say hypothetically, Washington State beats Washington, loses to Utah. Utah would go to the Rose Bowl. Washington State, because they're 11-2 and inside the top 12 of CFP poll, would land at an at-large in like the Fiesta or the Peach. Then the Alamo Bowl takes the first Pac-12 team, and that would be Washington. The third Pac-12 team, that would be Washington. And then number 4 would probably be Oregon if they win this week. It'd be either Oregon or Stanford. If Stanford loses to either Cal or UCLA, then Oregon will get the 4th. So then we'd land in the Holiday Bowl against probably like Wisconsin. And that's a pretty good game. I mean, that's a
Fair enough.
good Pac-12 big, yeah. But if Oregon wins, but Stanford wins, and like Washington State wins out, then Oregon's going to get pushed to like the Red Box Bowl or the Sun Bowl, and those matchups aren't as interesting. They could play like Utah State or like Georgia Tech, and it's fine. I mean, I'll watch the game no matter what. I just would prefer a Holiday Bowl. So, that's my reason for wanting Washington State not to win the Pac-12.
Wow, that's a good reasoning. Let's stick with college football. You've been hearing that Urban Meyer might retire and leave Ohio State?
Yep. Colin Cowherd said it yesterday. Paul Feinbaum said it earlier in the year over at Football Scoop. Zach Barnett and Doug Samuels have been saying it. So there's a lot of smoke, and usually where there's smoke, there usually is fire. It sounds like, and even you look at the body language of Urban Meyer, everything that went down, I think he quit at the end of the season, and I think Ohio State will be open. So,
and
I think it's possible.
Yeah. I mean, it's...
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, probably warned him out, that whole situation earlier in the year, so I think that probably did it. Even, I mean, he's a legend coach, and he looks young too, but I heard he has health problems as well.
You know, he had health problems when stuff started to go bad at Florida. He also all of a sudden starts having health problems and stuff start going bad at Ohio State. I'm not saying that there's a coincidence, but it's a little bit of a coincidence. How come he has health problems when stuff starts not going right? I'm just saying.
Yeah, no, it's a good observation.
Yeah.
Ravens coach, you think John Harbaugh might leave the Ravens and go to USC or Notre Dame?
Well, if you want, okay, now we're going to kind of all over the place. Let's set this up a little bit, because right now these are a little disconnected. Do you want me to set it up for you?
Yeah, go ahead.
Do you want me to set up the whole coaching thing? Okay, I'll break some stuff down.
Do it.
Okay. Well, rumor is Urban Meyer's going to be out at Ohio State, so that would open up Ohio State. Colin Cowherd yesterday kind of dropped a bombshell saying Brian Kelly is good, and I have heard this for the last couple of seasons. He is interested in coaching in the NFL. I guess he just wants to give it a try. Some coaches do. So after this good season, there's going to be several jobs in the NFL opening up. You know, you're going to have, I don't know. You have Cleveland open right now. You could have Cincinnati open. There's a chance the Cowboys are open. There's a pretty good possibility that the Packers is open. I'm trying to think. There's going to be a plethora. There's going to be 6-7 jobs open. So there's going to be opportunities for people to new coaches get NFL jobs. Brian Kelly's supposed to be an option. Well, obviously, if Brian Kelly leaves, Notre Dame's open. If Urban Meyer leaves, Ohio State becomes open. There's a high probability Clay Helton's going to get fired, and USC's going to be open. So if you're and Lincoln Reilly is highly coveted by the NFL. When questioned about it during the middle of Oklahoma season, he did not squash it. He said it obviously would be an opportunity of a life of coaching in the NFL. Seems like you'd squash. But I love coaching at Oklahoma. Of course he's going to say that. He's in the middle of the season. There is an outside chance that if you said the top 10 college football jobs, you would say Ohio State, you would say Notre Dame, you would say USC, and you would say Oklahoma. So there is a possibility that the four the top 10 best college football jobs in the nation are going to be open. That's not including job for Maryland is open, job for Louisville is open, the job for Colorado is open. Isn't there another job open?
I don't know.
Whatever. Okay.
Yeah.
So you're hearing a lot of names. I'm hearing the Ravens. I don't know if the Ravens are moving on from Harbaugh or Harbaugh is moving on from the Ravens. He won a Super Bowl there, but they've not been that great the last couple seasons. I don't know if there's tension. I'm hearing Harbaugh and the Ravens is coming to an end. There's also rumors that Harbaugh might try his hand in college football. And so, therefore, if you have USC open up, you have Ohio State open up, you have Notre Dame open up, you have Oklahoma, if you're going to jump to college football, why not jump to one of the four best jobs in college football, right?
Yeah.
So with him, I heard in particular USC or Notre Dame if it opens up. I'm also hearing Mike Leach, what a terrific job at Texas Tech. I don't know how many 10-win seasons, but he had several. He's been amazing at Washington State, has him in the playoff race, despite having some of the most marginal talent in the Pac-12. People are like, man, he deserves to get a bigger job. He could get a bigger job. I also heard he's just kind of tired of the Washington State in general, because I think, they had some off-field problems. He's had a lot of coaches leave. They had player commit suicide. They don't get the best talent. It's harder to get talent. So Mike Leach could be up for one of these big jobs. John Harbaugh, if he leaves, could be up for one of these big jobs. And then you have Lincoln Reilly and Brian Kelly being up, possibly two guys that leave for the NFL for big jobs. Reilly is considered a candidate for Packers and Cowboys. I think Kelly's a candidate for those jobs too. So you could just see a lot of movement, and I made some early predictions. I also heard that Dana Holgorsen for a while has been putting his name out there because he doesn't technically really want to stay at West Virginia. He's done a good job. They were in the college football hunt until last week. If they beat Oklahoma, they can still play for the Big 12 championship. But I'm hearing Dana Holgorsen is maybe a little bit tired of West Virginia. You're hearing Mike Leach is getting a little bit tired of Washington State. Those are two terrific coaches. Then you got John Harbaugh, who could be out of a job. He could either go to another NFL job, but I'm hearing college football. And so it's just going to be interesting to see what happens. I know it might seem impossible too, but Urban Meyer, if he leaves Ohio State, does he try to go to the NFL?
I would like to see that, actually. Would love to see that.
Yeah. So, what's going to happen? I love this part of the season. I've always loved the coaching carousal. I love when everyone is jockeying for the best coaches, but I made some early predictions. I think Holgorsen leaves. I think he ends up at Colorado. I think Dino Babers leaves Syracuse for Maryland, and I think Jeff Brom goes back to his alma mater at Louisville. And I'm considering Mike Leach a wild card for a couple of those jobs. Another guy is Matt Wells, who's done a terrific job at Utah State. I think it's Leggett, who's done a good job at North Texas. Another guy's Brian Harsin at Boise State. His name has been in the mix for several years for bigger jobs. So those are some names to keep in mind, to keep an eye on. But Ryan Day. Ryan Day. I think if Urban Meyer moves on from Ohio State, I think Ryan Day gets the job. He's the offensive coordinator, and he was the interim coach for Ohio State, and they were 3-0 when he was the head coach. So
we do know that Les Miles is going to Kansas.
Yeah, Kansas is probably the least wanted job of any of these that are open. That's just a tough job. Basketball school, not a great talent pool. So Les Miles shows where he is at when it comes to desirability from big programs. If Kansas is the best job you can get, that's
not a good sign.
Tough.
Not a good sign.
That's a tough place to win.
Anything else you want to cover in college football?
I just all I'd say currently is, you got the top four remaining the same. You have a huge game with Michigan and Ohio State. You have a big game between Washington and Washington State. A big game between West Virginia and Oklahoma. All those have big college football playoff implications. All those games have big conference implications. So you have three really terrific games this weekend. So get your TVs on, folks. Eat that turkey and watch some college football because you have some very, very, very big games with very big implications to them.
Which that leads us to game predictions. Are you ready?
Go.
Oklahoma at West Virginia.
I am going to go. I'm going to throw a little haymaker at you. Are you ready?
Do it.
Are you ready? You get better duck. West Virginia beats them. It's at West Virginia. I think West Virginia was looking a little bit ahead. Oklahoma has been very inconsistent on defense. They gave up 40 points at home to Kansas. I think West Virginia gets them. I think it's a good game, but I think West Virginia gets them, which guess what that means, Santiago?
Playoff.
That means Oklahoma will not play for the Big 12 championship. Ooh. Texas owns the tiebreaker. It will be Texas and West Virginia for the Big 12 championship.
The Big 12 has been very interesting, way more competitive than I've seen in a while. So, yeah.
Hold on! Go ahead.
No, that's it. I finished my thought.
No, I'm dropping bombs over that. Okay, next game.
Washington at Washington State.
I want Washington State to win. I want them because I'm already broken down for Oregon reasons why I want it. But the Huskies win.
Huskies win.
Washington.
Michigan at Ohio State.
Michigan has had a terrific year. They came back from an early season loss to Notre Dame. They've turned it around. They're number 3-4 position right now to be in the college football playoff. They win this game. They're in the Big Ten championship. But guess what? Guess what, Santiago?
Ohio
State beats them.
Whoa, that's a huge...
Michigan has had trouble. They have lost 15 out of the last 17 games to Ohio State.
Wow.
It's in Ohio State. Ohio State comes out and they beat Michigan. So guess what that means? We have some movement. Washington State's out of the playoff picture. Oklahoma's out of the playoff picture. And most importantly, Michigan is out of the playoff picture. That's what I predict this weekend. So you have some serious movement within the college football.
Does that help out LSU a little bit?
Santiago, how many times have I told you LSU's not getting into the college football playoff? You really want LSU in the college football playoff?
Yeah, it's kind of hard, man. I mean, they're seventh, but they're not. Yeah, it seems.
No, I'm gonna give you one better. Give me the. Guess who plays this weekend? Who does LSU play this weekend?
Rice University, I think.
No, they didn't. They played them last weekend. Who did they play this weekend?
Hold on, let me check. I gotta Google this. They play Texas A&M.
Guess who I'm picking to win the game?
Texas A&M.
Yep, I think Texas A&M beats them. So LSU will have 3 losses, so you can forget them. I think it's going to be a chaotic weekend.
It is.
I think by the end of this weekend, this is my prediction. Alabama's going to be number 1. They're going to kill Auburn. Number 2 is going to be Clemson, and I don't think Alabama's beating Georgia. Just put that right in writing.
Oh, bold statement.
So, how's that bold?
You're saying that Alabama will lose against Georgia?
No, I didn't say that.
Oh, okay.
You need to get the cotton out of yours. I said Alabama's going to beat Georgia, declaratively.
Yeah.
No,
sure.
I said Alabama's beating Georgia, so Alabama will be the number 1 seed. I'm gonna make this prediction because you can come back in 2 weeks after the conference championships are done. You can, if I'm wrong, then you can throw hay in my face.
Okay.
Number 2 team, Clemson. They win out. They win the ACC. They're going to be number 2. Notre Dame wins. They're going to be number 3. Who is going to be number 4? Who am I predicting as of, what's the date today? Today's November 20th?
20th, yeah. Who has the golden ticket?
20th. Who do I think? Well, obviously, I have Michigan losing, so that eliminates them. I have Georgia losing. That eliminates them. I have Oklahoma losing. That eliminates them. I have LSU losing. That eliminates them. I have Washington State losing. That eliminates them. Guess who I have getting the number 4 playoff spot?
Washington State.
The Ohio. I just said they're losing to Washington.
Oh, my bad. Ohio State, you saying?
Ohio State.
Yeah, they could bump up.
My prediction as of November 20th, and you can, if I'm wrong, you can bring it back up. Ohio State gets the number 4 playoff spot. It will be Alabama, Clemson, Notre Dame, and Ohio State. I think Ohio State beats Michigan, and then they go on to beat Northwestern. Now, I would not totally put it out of the realm of possibility that Ohio State, as inconsistent they have been this year, I could see them beating Michigan, going to the Big Ten championship, and losing to Northwestern. I could see that because they've been that inconsistent this year. Which then, in that case, who's behind Ohio State? Who currently is behind Ohio State? Let's say all the chaos happens and Ohio State loses. Who is behind Ohio State? Can you pull? I'm walking outside, so I can't pull up it. Who currently is behind Ohio State?
Right now, UCF.
No, UCF does not make it. Who's behind UCF?
Syracuse.
No, it's not Syracuse. That's not correct because Syracuse lost to Notre Dame this weekend. It's not Syracuse.
I mean, I have the college football playoff rankings right in front of me, but
no, it's wrong though because the college football playoff rankings come out tonight.
Yeah,
so you
tonight.
can't count teams that lost last week. West Virginia's number 9 right now. West Virginia lost this weekend.
I like West Virginia.
West Virginia lost. West Virginia lost Oklahoma. It doesn't matter. They're not going to play for the college football playoff. Who's behind Syracuse?
I mean, you want me to read last week's rankings, or you want to?
No, pull up AP rankings.
AP, okay.
The AP rankings came out on Sunday. Yep.
Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, let me pull that up. I was going to pull up. Give me a sec.
No, you're naming teams that already lost. They're not going to be even ranked there.
So behind what team again?
Okay, so you have Alabama, you have Clemson, you have Notre Dame, you have Michigan. So I have UGA losing, Georgia losing, I have Oklahoma losing, I have Washington State losing, I have LSU losing, and I'm saying, hypothetically, I'm picking Ohio State to be the 4th team. But let's say they do lose. Who would be the team?
Behind Ohio State,
it's Texas.
You got Texas, West Virginia, Florida, Utah. Yeah.
Is it? No, Texas wins out and wins the Big 12 title. They could go into college football playoff? That seems ridiculous.
Maybe.
That seems a little crazy.
They're heavy.
Who knows? I actually was able to pull it up. Honestly, if that chaos happens that I'm saying, UGA loses, Michigan loses, Washington State loses, LSU loses, Ohio State loses, who knows who would be the 4th team? Honestly, if that was the case, it probably would be between, at that point, you probably would have to go between the Pac-12, Big 12, champion, or maybe Georgia. It's crazy to talk. Wow. With 2 losses and not winning the SEC, you still would probably say Georgia. I would probably, if that much chaos happens, I would actually say Georgia, despite 2 losses, would probably get it.
Man.
But I hope that chaos doesn't happen. Because that would be weird. I don't want a 2-loss non-SEC champion in the playoffs.
Yeah.
But honestly, if I was going to say which team I think is the best, I would probably pick Georgia. But that being said, I don't, and actually, you can't consistently want LSU in the playoff you bring them up. If the chaos happens like that, LSU would get in.
Okay. Yeah.
Like if they beat A&M and finish 10-2, and Oklahoma, Michigan, Ohio State, Georgia all lose, LSU would get in.
Okay.
LSU is rooting for chaos, but I think
that's the only way. Okay, we got a lot of commentators want to know who wins between Utah State at Boise State.
Is that Ryan? He's such a non-Power 5 lover.
Ryan, and also this guy named Slora Avail also wants to know.
About Utah? Okay, I'm just kidding. I'm giving Ryan a hard time. I think that Utah, I like what David Yost, he's a great offensive coordinator. I like what Matt Wells has done. I think Utah State's a little better. I think Utah State, if they win, also would get in the Red Box Bowl, and they'd play against, like an Oregon or a Stanford for a bowl game. So I'm going to take Utah State.
Utah State wins away. Syracuse at Boston College.
Both those teams aren't playing very well. If Eric Dungy's not playing, I guess Boston College lost their starting quarterback too. I guess I'll go Boston College because it's there. Both those teams are not playing very well anymore.
Oregon at Oregon State.
Oregon.
Let's go NFL.
Oregon really has to play a bad game.
Yeah. Let's go NFL Thanksgiving games. Chicago at Detroit.
Don't put it past Oregon, though. Just to play for that point. They've been inconsistent. Chicago and Detroit, I'll go Chicago. Chicago's good.
Yeah, Chicago's good, yeah, Trubisky. Redskins at the Cowboys. Classic Thanksgiving. Cowboys
playing a little better. Redskins lost to Alex Smith. So I'm going to go with Cowboys.
You like Amari Cooper with the Cowboys?
They're playing better.
Yeah,
they are playing better.
And Thursday night, if Tyler's still awake, Atlanta Falcons at the New Orleans Saints.
Saints. Give me Packers, too. Who's Packers playing?
Oh, okay. Let's see who the Packers are playing. If you want to go deep down.
Can't leave me out. That's my NFL team, bro.
They play the Vikings in Minnesota.
Well, okay, the Packers basically lose one. If they lose two more games, they're not making the playoffs. If they lose one more, they might not. They kind of have to either win out. I think McCarthy's gone no matter what. They've been so inconsistent this year. And actually, Rodgers kind of lost in that game at Seattle, by the way. I'm going to say they beat the Vikings. Vikings don't look great this year. They haven't looked that great. The first game was a tie, and I think the Packers should have won it. They blew it at the end, but I am going to go Green Bay.
Green Bay wins. One of the commentators says the best game of this weekend is Michigan, Ohio State. Do you agree with him? Because it is the one of the best rivalries in sports, let alone college football. Yes, it is. It's besides the Big Ten East. Yeah, I would say. But the Apple Cup side in the Pac-12 North Washington versus Washington State's a great game, and West versus West Virginia, the winner goes to the Big 12 championship, is a very good game. So there's other good games, but yes, Ohio State versus Michigan is the best game. It is the best game. And I forgot, oh my gosh, one more thing. Auburn and Alabama. But I guess we know the answer to that.
Yeah. There you go. Alabama. I don't think Alabama's not going to lose this year. They'll have a tough game against Georgia. But
yeah, that's pretty much.
I actually hope Alabama because if Alabama loses to Georgia, you're going to have two SEC champions. No, hold on. If Alabama loses to Georgia and Michigan wins out, you will have such a tough. Do you pick Michigan because then Georgia's in because they're the SEC champions, Clemson's in, Notre Dame's in, so it's between Michigan and Alabama. Who would you take? Can you really leave out a Big Ten champion that's 12-1?
Wow.
But can you really leave out Alabama, who probably is the defending national champion and probably has the best team in college football? I mean, I don't really think you can. I think Michigan gets left out of the college football playoffs, but that's stupid. So I'm just hoping Alabama wins out. They beat Auburn, they beat from Georgia.
Leave it to the
Makes it-
experts. And what is your Thanksgiving tradition?
Don't have one. Turkey? I mean, everyone eats turkey. But other than that, nothing really other than that.
You pig out on Thanksgiving?
No, not really. I don't ever pig out. No.
You got to stay in form. That is the goal.
In Massachusetts.
For the holiday. Well,
Correct.
Tyler is in Charlottesville. You'll be watching all the games this weekend. A lot going on this weekend. Thanksgiving is not just a holiday; it's also a weekend to watch sports. So, big matchups: Michigan, Ohio State, Oklahoma at West Virginia. You're right, and of course, the NFL games. But Ty, how can people reach you on Thanksgiving?
Ty Turner, MPLS, Twitter.
Awesome. Well, Tyler, thanks for coming on to the Sportscast. Any final words?
I did. I love you, man. Have a good Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving, man. Thank you very much for coming on.